Cornish Witch podcast. I'm your host, Freyja, a witch who lives in Cornwall, but who isn't a born and bred Cornish maid.
My guest on this episode is the lovely Tatiana. You may recognise her from last week's episode, Witch Festival. Tatiana lives in West Cornwall. She is one half of The Gypsy and the Witch, a business that she runs with her husband, Paul, who will also be appearing on an episode later on in the series. In this episode, Tatiana and I explore the multifaceted world of witchcraft, discussing its historical roots, seasonal celebrations, and the importance of community. We delve into various divination tools, including tarot and crystal ball readings, while sharing personal experiences with spirit and the significance of energy protection. Our discussion also highlights the value of books and resources for practitioners, culminating in a reflection on what it means to be a witch in today's world. Happy listening. Tatiana, welcome to the Cornish Witch podcast, and thank you for being on this episode today.
Thank you for having me.
You are very welcome. First thing I would like to ask you is really, how did your journey into spiritualism start?
So when I think back to my childhood, I often remember going around my garden, picking flowers, picking fruits, because we had lots of fruit trees, and putting them in a bucket and making a magic spell. So I think back to, again, childhood memories as actually the beginning of my journey, which was filled with stories, fairy tales read to me by my parents. And then obviously a deep interest in specific characters and archetypes in those stories, like the witch or the fairies. Not always the heroes or the heroines of the story, sometimes the villains as well, as we know, witches are often portrayed in that way. And then as I reached my teenage years, I started going to Northamptonshire Town Centre, where I used to live. And I used to always find myself in the esoteric book range of Waterstones, looking at cards, crystal balls, books, and just feeling really excited by these areas of mystery. And I would say that this is, again, early pathways from very young age, which led me into just wanting to dig deeper and explore even more.
I love that. And you said that you're originally from Northamptonshire.
I am, yes.
That's so uncanny because that's where I'm from. So I know Northampton, I know the Waterstones very well, I know Northampton Town very well. My family are from there. That is just, it's like this was just meant to be.
That's so strange.
That is so strange. When did you move down to Cornwall?
We officially moved around 2.5, 3 years ago now. But we did live quite nomadically for around 4 years prior to that, between Northamptonshire and Cornwall, around the southwest, Glastonbury, Somerset area as well, until we decided to just finally make the move and obviously head to Cornwall.
Yeah, wow, that's incredible. I've been down here for about 6 years, and I mean, and I've never looked back. Like, it's been one of the best things. That it was the best decision I ever made. But I just, I love how that we're both from the same place and we didn't even know.
Oh, that is really funny.
So, do you ever miss the Midlands? Do you ever miss Northamptonshire?
I am very fortunate. I actually return up to the Midlands area most months. I'm up there usually once a month or once every other month, and I still hold events in the Midlands area and do work with clients in that area still, regardless of the fact that I live in Cornwall.
Oh no, that's so good. That's amazing. There is so really testing my memory now. Do you remember whether and for those listeners who have no idea where Northampton is or what the town is like, I do apologise. But do you remember where the Chronicle and Echo used to be?
Well, I was originally from Kettering in Northampton, but I was a regular visitor to Northampton Town as well. So I think, tested my memory as well, I can remember I think.
Because near there, as you kind of went, there was a little street off to the side before you went into the town centre. And down that street, there was I think there was a dance school, but also a little spiritualist church.
Yes, I do remember that.
Yeah, did you ever sort of go in there or go and visit sort of any sessions there at all?
I didn't, but I did used to occasionally go to Kettering Spiritualist Church. Um, Obviously, you asked me a moment ago about my early pathways. I completely bypassed the fact that I am a medium as well there. And I have connected with spirits since an early age. So obviously, the Spiritualist Church is a place that you are welcomed, depending on, obviously your pathway and what you think is right for you. There are the options to go to places like that. And I have been to Kettering Spiritualist Church previously, many years ago.
My goodness, this is so strange, but I absolutely love it. I love that we are from the same area and that you're able to understand my terrible directions of what Northampton town is like.
I do still actually go to Northampton Pagan group um, whenever I can make it. A really lovely moot that I've been a part of for many years, but obviously have not always been able to attend, living nomadically and then obviously moving to the southwest. But what's really lovely is that if I am in the area, I can pop in and I can feel welcome.
Oh, that is so nice, isn't it? And it does, I suppose, in a way, it always feels like, you're kind of coming home or it's a home from home. You can just sort of step back in, which is always lovely.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was literally there a few weeks ago, and it's so nice because as soon as I go in, it's like, oh, you're still welcome here, regardless of the fact that you don't actually live here anymore, you're still welcome.
So, do you have a family history of magic or any family members that are also along that same spiritual path?
So yes and no, not so openly. One of my aunties, I remember in childhood, she was always the cool auntie that rode a motorbike. We have curly red hair, moon and star earrings, very much on that hippified level. And she's always been quite a spiritual lady, not necessarily labelled, but just quite openly spiritual. Also, one of my great aunts that I actually stayed with for a period of time in my teenage years, she was involved with paganism and magic. I remember actually opening one of the cupboards when I was there, and I had no idea that she liked this sort of thing. And I remember opening one of the cupboards and seeing candles, incense, and witchcraft books, and just being blown away. She was interested in that. Um, so absolutely, there definitely has been family members, whether they've been in or out of the broom closet, that I feel have probably um, took something from in terms of lineage, gifts, abilities.
That's amazing. And on your website, The Gypsy and the Witch, do you have gone and labelled yourself as a psychic medium, but you also say that you're a witch of the old ways, and I absolutely love that title. Can you explain to me a little bit more about perhaps what a witch of the old ways means?
So I think that when it comes to witchcraft, um, it is a very eclectic pathway. People use the title witch for many different reasons and follow many different pathways. None are right or wrong, in my opinion. It's what is right for you. For me, with my personal pathway and my craft, I like to look at more ancient areas of occult practice and craft. And I like to follow the old wheel of the year, um, and just sort of celebrate the turning of the wheel and connecting with energies in lots of different ways. Again, it's quite hard to explain really, but I think for me, my craft is more old pathways rather than modern day witchcraft.
Oh, I think you're explaining it beautifully, and it is very personal as well. And I love that you got to mention the Wheel of the Year. Do you have a favourite Sabbath at all?
I do. I'm quite greedy. I have more than one. Well, I absolutely love my one. Again, a debatable name there. A lot of people say the autumn equinox, a lot of people say Mabon. But again, for different reasons. That is point of the year for me where everything starts calming down from the summer, obviously very busy days and busy energy in the summer. And it's a moment of pause. It's that time of introspection, of calming down. And I love a lot of the myths and stories around that as well. So particularly Persephone, Demeter and Hades, that's my favourite story of the autumn equinox. So I do like that. I do celebrate that we're making a Make-A-Wish apple cake with my family. um, yeah, it's something I've done since my daughters were very young. It's a traditional apple and raisin cake recipe, but obviously when you cut an apple in half, from the side, you've got the 5-star pentagram inside. So I chopped that, sliced it up, put it on top of the cake, a drizzle of syrup or honey, and obviously made with loving intention. And then I slice the cake and say that we make a wish as we reflect on obviously the year that's gone by and what we would like to bring in over the cold, darker winter months ahead.
It's so lovely that you're doing that with your daughters, and that I'm just picturing a lovely sort of almost practical magic kind of beautiful family tradition that's so witchy and whimsical as well.
Thank you. I mean, I think for me in childhood, the witchcraft ways weren't there, in terms of obviously sharing, passing that on, that knowledge, that experience. With my family, what I follow is what is age appropriate and within their interests. So again, just following the natural rhythms of the year, making things magical and just bringing in what I feel is relevant and supportive, as long as they are obviously open to listening. And who doesn't listen to cake?
Always the cake.
Definitely. So obviously there's many other ways that we celebrate the autumn equinox, but the cake is always a favourite.
I'm totally agree with you. Anything with food for me, really. If there's a celebration and there's food involved, I'm so there.
Absolutely. And if you look back again, we spoke about the old ways a little bit. If you look back at our ancestors' time, they would always have their celebrations with some sort of feast in some way. And it's what that's about is bringing loved ones and people together for community and for connection. And it's a really lovely way to just honour that time together.
Yeah, I was talking to another witch about this. I mean, we're just talking about how community and connection is just so important to us as human beings, but also, keeping us in tune with those natural cycles of the earth as well.
Absolutely. And I think this is where we're not always taught to understand how our body and our mind, our soul, our energies on every level, whether it's physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, how we are actually connected to the earth around us and the rhythms of the earth and the energies. And obviously, this is what I like to bring in because, like what I was saying a moment ago, with the autumn equinox after the busy summer, the earth around us starts calming down, and as do we. And our body recognizes that.
I totally agree with you that when the autumn equinox comes in and it is that time for rest and reflection, and the summer, that busyness and that exciting period of the summer is over and it's time to pause. At the same time, for many people, it's like back into a routine, school starts, fresh starts, new school uniform, getting or back to work after your holiday, and then people can get quite caught up in that kind of chaos in a way, and then forget to stop or just pause and take a breath and go, it's okay to slow down.
And I think this is where, again, like you've mentioned, sort of school term starts, and a lot of families educate their children in different ways now. Obviously, we have home education as well as mainstream schooling, and different sorts of environments for education. The same as work. We used to, obviously, again, stepping back into our ancestors' time, the way that they lived was very different to how we live today. But equally, how we lived 50 years ago is very different to how we live today. And I think in some respects, where times have changed and we now have a lot more people working from home, a lot more young people being educated in different ways, in some respects, we have more time to understand how we can start calming down, working our bodies and rhythms within the seasons of the earth. But then in other ways, whatever you do, in terms of work and education, it's still a very busy time compared to a long time ago. So it can be overlooked. We don't have the awareness of it.
Yeah, and it is that self-awareness as well. You're absolutely right. You said that you have two favourite Sabbats. What was the other one that you mentioned?
I have 4.
You have 4. Oh, sorry, 4. Yeah, that's. I'm ready to hear them all.
I told you I was greedy. Well, obviously, we have a bit of a follow on, I think, because as we step into the autumn equinox, we start recognizing the darker months ahead. And for me personally, I prefer that time period where we're in crone energy, we're within our own wisdoms, and we can really start connecting with our own energy. So I like Samhain. Well, I love Samhain. I think if I had to choose out of all of them, Samhain would be the top one. Obviously, Samhain is around our ancestors, our traditions, our lineage. And I also separately Halloween.
Yeah, I mean, I always used to be I've always loved Halloween and the dressing up and, the scares. And then as I got older, dressing up and going out. But now, like, in the last few years, the last several years, I've really started to take a step back and actually celebrate Samhain more and have that quiet time for reflection. And, I will have a dumb supper and I will have like an ancestor altar. And it's, yeah, and it's interesting because you will see all the posters up for things like Halloween and scare fests and Halloween parties and trick or treats. And I love all of that. And I used to be really all about that as well and getting dressed up. Maybe it's me getting older, but now I'm more like, no, I'm just happy to sit at home, not talking to anyone, having an empty seat at my table for any ancestors who wish to come and join me for dinner.
Absolutely. I very much love both. Um, Again, as a mother, we celebrate Halloween with an annual Halloween party for our family and friends, which my daughters absolutely love. I love as well. I love, again, like you said, the whole dressing up and celebrating it as Halloween. But then separately, we absolutely have the dumb supper as well. We have our altar. I don't know if you saw actually just before we started, but we already have that up ready. We've got obviously all of our loved ones' photos up on the altar. Just dressed it seasonally. We've got a lovely clock that just sat still on the altar. And every year at this time of year, we just spend that time with the energies and just honour them.
That's so lovely. So moving from Samhain, what is your next favourite Sabbath?
It has to be the winter solstice. I love the winter solstice as well. Again, you have that connection, but also separation with Christmas and Yule. So this is what I quite like about, again, with Halloween and Samhain. You can understand the connections, but you can also see how they are separate in their own rights. And obviously, depending on your pathway and what is right for you, you choose to either celebrate them separately or just one of them. And again, for us, we celebrate both.
When it comes to Christmas time and Yule, I've really started in the last few years move into a very dark Yule aesthetic, and I've really been getting very interested in like the old sort of folk horror. It's like the European folk horror as well around Yule, so like Krampus.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. I've really found that very, very interesting. And I wonder if it's actually just me holding on to Samhain and not liking to let it go. So I'm just trying to bring it into Yule with me and make it even dark and spooky. What's your fourth favourite Sabbath?
So my fourth favourite has to be Beltane, known as May Day. But it's actually the opposite on the wheel of year to Samhain. So we speak about Samhain a lot with the veil thinning between our world and spirit world. But equally, we have this at Beltane as well. It's just not always spoken about or recognised as being connected to that.
Yeah. And we also, thinking of, of May Day as well, such a common celebration. And especially when we think about, primary schools and like, the children will do the maypole dance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I remember doing that when I was younger, and I remember my siblings doing it as well. And I think it's so nice that it's obviously, a lot of schools still do it. I think especially down here in Cornwall, it's so nice that that tradition is still upheld. And I think a lot of people don't recognise that it's still quite linked to that sort of pagan tradition and honouring the seasons and everything coming back to life again and celebrating, that time where everything is in bloom and the days are lighter and the air is warmer and sweeter.
Absolutely. And obviously, at this time of year, you do have everything around the phallic symbols too. And you have the connections with spring and that awakening of, not spring, sorry, the spring and the summer in some respect. Because it's coming into fruitation. It's a time period of exploration and excitement. And again, fertility and connection.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know that you have sort of a specialism in historical occultism, and I am really interested to hear more about that. So if you could tell me about sort of the talks you do and the sort of the research that you've done into historical occultism, that would be awesome.
So it's very much a very strong interest of mine. I do talks on, I have specific talks that I do. The main areas I do talks on are the British witchcraft trials and executions. I do a talk on the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn and also on John Dee. So those are the main areas. But I have studied history, different areas of occultism. And there are other books that I do offer, but not as in-depth.
Do you have a favourite historical occultist?
I have a few. And I am a fan of the Golden Dawn. Obviously, each one of these magicians have their own stories to tell. Many people can look at the Golden Dawn and can consider how I will quote what somebody said to me once, not from my words. What a bunch of drama queens. That's what someone said to me once. And obviously, a lot of them were quite high up in performing arts fields. But I think that they were all, again, incredibly individual magicians that were dedicated to their craft. And obviously, in their progression, and while some of them got a lot further in that than others, we obviously don't know the entire ins and outs of what exactly they practiced, although we do have a very good idea and we do know a lot more than we would have done at the time. Um, I just find it fascinating to consider how they had that order in place.
It does sound absolutely fascinating. I've always loved history, and I kind of wish that I had done a little bit more or like took a little bit more of an interest in it. So to have something like that you can always go and talk about and educate people on is absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
and I could probably listen to you. Yeah, I'll probably talk your ear off like for all the rest of the podcast.
We can do that.
That sounds fantastic. So with your so you run the Gypsy and the Witch with your husband Paul, and you offer so many things on there. We're going to touch on a few of those. I know that you use tarot cards and that you offer tarot card readings, but I've also noticed that you resonate or align yourself with a Queen of Hearts or Queen of Cups energy.
I do.
Which I absolutely love. Could you talk to me about what it means for you to be able to align with that energy? And for those out there who don't really know the tarot, or perhaps, just starting to get into it, could you explain that as well?
So I know where you've got that from. You've got that from my website. Thank you
I
for being
have.
involved.
I've done my research.
You certainly have. So yes, I describe myself as Queen of Cups energy, and also Queen of Hearts, because when you look at playing cards in comparison to tarot, they are very much linked. The Queen of Cups in the tarot is the equivalent of the Queen of Hearts in the playing cards. And we can all consider a Queen of Hearts as being simply with a very big heart. It's very much the same with the Queen of Cups. When you look at the queens in the tarot, each one brings a different energy. However, we have all of these archetypes of the tarot within us, within our lives, and the characters of the cards too. And what we have with the Suit of Cups is in line with the element of water, which is our emotion and our intuition. I consider myself quite aligned with the Queen of Cups, more so out of the Queens of the Tarot, because I am quite a nurturing person. I do work with my intuition a lot, but I also work from my heart space.
That makes so much sense, and they marry up so well, and I can see exactly what you mean by how you align with that
Yeah,
completely. Do you have a favourite deck when it comes to the tarot at all? Because I know there's lots of different, and especially these days, so many tarot decks out there and oracle decks as well. But are you quite into the classics, or do you have your own favourite?
I work with a huge variety of divination tools, but I do actually offer other divination readings as well as what's on my website. It's currently being updated as of January, actually, right from tea leaves through to crystal ball and ceremancy, all sorts of divination tools. However, tarot is my brand. And I literally got back on Sunday evening from the UK Tarot Conference in London, which is my annual pilgrimage that I absolutely adore, run by Kim Arnold. And every year I come away feeling incredibly inspired by the authors and the illustrators that are there, very much creative tarot artists. So it's always very difficult when anyone asks what's your favourite deck, because I have a very large collection of tarot decks. So once a month, I run something called Coffee and Cards Club online. What I love is during this session, I share multiple decks of cards. And I actually ran that this morning. And the cards that we looked at were seasonal decks. So I have my main deck of cards, which I feel that I know what they're called, but I pretend that I don't, because I got gifted them about 25 years ago, and they're very loved. And people actually say that when I pass them to them. They'll say, oh, these are quite warm cards, or they're very loved cards. You can see they're well used. But I really love that deck of cards. And not having it in a box which states the deck's name and so on, actually I feel has more connection to me, because I just keep them in my pouch, close to my heart. But naming other decks that I do like, Today I pulled out the Trick or Treat Tarot deck by Barbara Moore, which I love getting out this time of year. I also really like the Somnia Tarot by Nicholas Bruno, I believe his name is, which is an American, I believe he's an American artist who created this deck of cards based on dreams and nightmares that have been photographed and also collaged and created and put together in a deck, which is really unusual deck of cards that just hold a lot of powerful energy.
I feel like I'm learning so much from you in this episode. Um,
Oh, thank you.
and I had no idea there was such a massive sort of tarot conference on in London, which sounds incredible, and that's something I would definitely would be interested in going and seeing what it's like.
When I was speaking earlier about the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, the Rider Waite, which is a classic tarot deck, A.E. Waite and Pamela Coleman Smith. These decks, they were all members of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. And these decks were produced sort of following on from the Hermetic Order. And there was a Golden Dawn tarot deck prior to that as well. So they're all interesting areas. And I'm not sure if you know or not, but Pamela Coleman Smith, who was the artist for the Rider Waite tarot deck, actually links to Cornwall. She did live down the Lizard and also in Bude.
I didn't know that she had links to Cornwall. I am aware that she was never really recognised for her illustrations, and she wasn't credited officially up until sort of quite recently for the work that she did on the Rider Waite tarot deck.
Yes, I was actually gobsmacked. Having lived in Cornwall now for, as I say, around 3 years, and knowing that she did live at Park Garland, at the Lizard many, many years ago, I haven't actually seen or heard anything about Pamela Coleman Smith since I have moved here until around 3 weeks ago when Helston actually held a week honouring Pamela Coleman Smith, which I was so excited to see. And they had a week of celebrations, they had art exhibitions, and they had divination evening as well. A few things went on during that week. Unfortunately, I wasn't here, but my husband was. So I was very grateful that he managed to go and videoed with me so that I could see my end.
That sounds absolutely wonderful and so long overdue for her as well. Getting that recognition that she deserves, and I hope that that continues every year as well.
Yes, I mean, there may well have been other events that I just haven't managed to hear about. But I think that it was great that obviously the locals did create this honouring week and, just really sort of showed up and gave her credit for obviously the incredible artist that she was.
Yeah, and she, her work is just known all over the world, and I'm so glad that she was honoured in that way, and I hope that continues. Um, Speaking of other sort of divination tools that you use, and your website talks about shadow readings and pyromancy readings. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Is it pyromancy?
It's pyromancy. I think depending on, obviously how you word things. Yes, that's right. So mancy is a Latin word that is all about sort of divination, divination to shine. So what you'll find with a lot of divination words, you'll have mancy at the end. So pyromancy, cartomancy, ceremancy, and so on.
So pyro is fire. How do you read that and get messages from that?
Yeah, so pyromancy, you're absolutely right. They are fire scrying readings. And scrying is when you almost go into a trance-like state where you're gazing at an object, an item, an element, until you start connecting with that and start seeing, that their messages in front of you. There's different ways of reading fire flames, and obviously, without having a full blown fire, You can do, and a lot of people do read the flames in that way. They will have a fire outside, or even I like to explain how, I don't know if you've ever seen Narnia, The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. You know that scene where Mr. Tumnus has Lucy, kidnaps Lucy, and she's sat staring at the fire, and all of a sudden she starts seeing little creatures, little animals and little people coming out blowing their trumpet. It's like she's hypnotized by the flames. That's a really, obviously it's not a good example because she's not specifically scrying there, but it's a good example that I can think of through media coverage where somebody is gazing at a fire and all of a sudden you start seeing things through the flames. Now, you can scry with a full-blown fire where you gaze, you stare until, again, it's like a bit of a hypnotic trance-like state where you will then start seeing shapes, faces, messages in the flames. But you can also do this on a much smaller scale using candle flames. So if I'm doing a reading for somebody with candle flames, I would, depending on what specific areas they want to look at, I would use colour correspondences of candles, and I would put them all out in front of me and light each one. And then I would work with the flame for each candle, looking at each category of their life. For example, finances, love and relationship, career and passion. The same as you would with the tarot, having specific categories. But I would do that with the candle, or again with a big fire.
Yeah, wow. I feel like I want one now to see. I want to experience that and see what it's like. So I might have to, yeah, come to you for a pyromancy reading.
Absolutely.
How do shadow readings work then?
So the shadow readings and the shadow work is actually what Paul offers, not myself. And I think you have got Paul on here at some point. So it would probably be good to ask him because he will give you a much better understanding of that than what I have, because obviously, again, I don't offer it. But to my understanding, Paul works with specific cards to look at those hidden layers, what's really sitting in the subconscious that we may not even be aware of.
That sounds really interesting, and I will definitely be asking Paul more about that on our episode. So I know that you run a spiritual shop and therapy with a therapy room in it called Enchanted. Talk to me a little bit more about. I mean, I love a spiritual shop, especially if it's got a therapy room in it. Talk to me more about Enchanted and what you offer in there and the sort of things that you have in there as well.
Enchanted is quite new. We only opened the shop in May, I believe it was April or May. And what it is a shop and a therapy room next to each other. The shop itself is like a little treasure box. It's filled with items that have been either made, created, or sold through different small businesses up and down the country, people that we know personally. So if I know somebody that, for example, has a small business up in Northamptonshire, and they sell goods, and I will put their things in the shop, in a cabinet or spread out elsewhere to support their business as well.
Tatiana, I absolutely love that because I love going into spiritual shops, and to hear that you are sourcing materials from people that you know, from small businesses that you know, and you know that they have been created with love and kindness and with, good intention, and that you are then bringing that down here to sell in Cornwall is absolutely wonderful, because you're supporting local businesses, which we really need to keep alive because we are such a consumer heavy bunch of people these days. And, we do kind of tend to lose ourselves on things like Amazon. So to know that you are traveling above and beyond and out of Cornwall to keep those local businesses alive is absolutely amazing.
Thank you so much.
One thing the therapy room that's there as well. So what do you offer with the therapy room in the shop?
Yeah, so I'll say a little bit more about the shop actually. I may as well. So just to give you an example of some of the things that we have there, we do have a variety of books that again are people that we know personally that have published their books. The Coven of Gaia, we have their book in there, who run the Festival of the Pagans and Witches in Coventry, an amazing bunch of people that do a lot of good for charity. And we have a local witch down here, Michelle Elliott's, who's amazing. We've got her Witchwise book in there. We have, I won't go on too much about books, but lots of books. We have our hand crocheted lanterns and lights that are very, very quirky. We do have a few crystals, and we do have a little bit of incense in there, but we also have wax melts that are created under different correspondences. So for areas like luck, protection, love, and so on. Spell oils, we've got mermaid charms, we've got candles by Kozel Condor, again, a local business down here in Cornwall that make aromatherapy candles. There's just loads and loads of items, again, local, but also up and down small business. Just trying to support them. Then in regards to the therapy room, pretty much everything that is on the website. So the services that are offered are sound therapy, crystal healing, angel reiki. In terms of divination, there's tea leaf readings, oracle card readings, tarot card readings, crystal ball readings, one-to-one mentoring as well. I do teach the tarot. But a lot of different services.
I am regularly down towards Hale and the Lizard because I've got some good friends down there that I like to visit quite a lot. So the next time I'm down, I will definitely be making an effort to come and visit you and come and visit your wonderful shop as well.
Thank you so much.
Something I forgot to ask about with the divination tools is, and something that I saw on your website, which I absolutely loved to see, and I'm really interested in talking to you about this, is crystal ball readings.
Yeah.
So this is probably me being a little bit ignorant and perhaps not really looking as much into divination tools. And then I suppose sort of thinking back to my childhood and the films that I watched as well. And I kind of thought that, crystal balls can be a little bit, a bit of a prop or a bit gimmicky or a bit of a costume. And actually I would really, really love to know, and I'm really interested in what you see when you scry into a crystal ball. And even if, do you like to use crystal balls made out of certain crystals, if they have different strengths, different energies that you can draw upon? I'm just so fascinated by this.
Absolutely. No, I love that you've asked these things. And you're right, because again, we grow up watching things on TV, don't we? And that's how different areas of life are portrayed, and it's the conditioning we then have. And again, we all have opinions which we're totally entitled to. When it comes to the crystal ball, the biggest misconception is that we always see something inside the crystal ball. And I know so many people that have said very similar to what you've said. And they've said to me, I keep looking, Tatiana, I keep looking and looking and looking, and I can't see anything. How can you see something inside of it? And then I say, you're looking in the wrong place. You can, don't get me wrong, you can see things inside the crystal ball, but you can also see things through your third eye, because what you have essentially is a focal point. So if we're working with tarot, we have something to look at, and we're looking at a breakdown of the card, the numbers, the elements. We're looking at the suit. We're looking at the ranking of the card. So we understand the symbology of that. When we're looking at the fire, we're looking at the shape of the flames and the colours and the movement of the flames. So again, we have something to go by. It's moved to the left, or that looks like this, or what does that mean? Well, when we're looking at a crystal ball, we're just looking at something that is not moving. And if it's a clear crystal ball, there's nothing inside, just clear crystal. But when we're sitting gazing at that, again using it as a scrying tool, we can start to see things either in the crystal ball or in our third eye. We're also putting ourselves at that point of concentration and focus where we are clearing everything else in terms of distractions and energies from around us, which means that we can start to listen to our clair senses as well. Anybody that may not be aware, clair senses are how we connect with spirit and energies, which is almost like supersonic senses. So rather than smelling pizza that's cooking in the kitchen, we're smelling smoke from a loved one in spirit that is around us, for example. It's like a very, very heightened sense. And when we're staring at the crystal ball, whilst again we might see something inside the crystal ball, we might see, hear, smell, feel through our clair senses whilst we are gazing at the crystal ball as well.
That is amazing. I'm so glad that I've asked this, and I just find it so interesting as well. How popular are your crystal ball readings?
I would say that tarot readings are always the most popular form of divination. And I think that that's because there is more awareness of tarot. It's more out there now. A lot of the other divination tools that I offer, for example, ceremancy. If I said to someone, would you like a ceremancy reading or tarot reading? They 9 times out of 10 will say, what's a ceremancy reading? Oh no, I don't want that. I want tarot. Because they know what tarot is. They're more comfortable with tarot. Like with anything, when we get familiar with something, we tend to stick to it. The crystal ball is one that people will know and are aware of. I also think because they're just looking at the ball and thinking, well, I can't see anything. Whereas when they're looking at the tarot cards, you're sort of pointing out, look at how this person's reacting, look at what they've got in their hand. They have something to see. So I don't think that crystal ball readings are as popular as tarot card readings, but they're definitely one of the more popular ones than more of the rare divination readings that I do offer as well.
What is the rare divination readings that you offer?
For example, ceremancy, that's not an overly popular one. Um, so when I was speaking to you about the candles earlier, how I use the different candle colours with the flames for different areas of life, ceremancy is where I pour the candle wax into a bowl of water and see the shapes of the candle wax, how it's moving, how it forms, to obviously read from that.
I see. It kind of reminds you like when an egg is cracked into water and they look to see how the egg looks, and with the yolk and the
Yeah,
egg white. Yeah, kind of reminds me of that. But I didn't know you could do it with candle wax. I'm learning
yeah, absolutely.
in this podcast episode. It's wonderful.
Thank you.
They seem to be like writing down things like, yep, I would like to try that, and I want to try that, and I'm going to pop down to the shop.
That's absolutely fine. You can contact me anytime.
Well, you talked about you being a psychic medium and how you got onto the spiritual path at a young age. And I loved how you talked about, going around your garden and picking flowers and making potions, and also being more interested in the witches in films. I do like to ask this question around this time of year. But what has been perhaps the most spooky or scary experience that you've had being a psychic medium?
That's an interesting question. Um, so I've connected with spirit for as long as I can remember. I had childhood epilepsy, and my mum used to be really spooked out because I would tell her that Tarek has come to visit me in the evening at bedtime. And this was when I was a very young girl. I was around 4 or 5 years old. And I told her that Tarek was my son before I was her daughter. And every time that Tarek came to visit me, I would have a seizure in my sleep at night. So my mum used to be quite frightened of that, but also she used to be quite happy that she would be aware that that would be the evening that I would have a seizure. Because I had grand mère epilepsy, so it was only nighttime seizures. But obviously this became quite understood that this was how it was working now, because when tarot came, I would have a seizure. And I think sort of when you say what the scary thing, I consider that. I wasn't obviously scared of the fact that I had him visiting, but I do remember being a young girl and seeing him come through and feeling safe, but understanding that I would have a seizure on that evening. So I think that for me personally, that was probably, and you know, I don't know whether I'm answering that question properly actually, but I think from my understanding of from spirit, that was a frightening time, but not through him.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Because I mean, you could have said anything, and that was so personal to you. I can understand, why that is frightening. So yeah, thank you for sharing that on the podcast.
I think what's important as well, Freyja, is when it comes to spirit, it's having respect of spirit. So you have spirit connection in different ways. You have spirit of location, which is spirit that is attached to the environment. You have your own spirit guides and obviously loved ones in spirit who have passed over, your ancestors. You also have other people's spirit energies. And I think the most important thing is to be respectful, the same as you would be with people in life. It's also respecting space. So, just going back to that question within my reflections, there has been places that I have visited which have high level spirit activity and definitely have been on the level of I'm getting close to a connection that feels uncomfortable. And with that, I will respectfully step away because if you work closely with spirit, you understand what is appropriate and acceptable, and then what is aggravating to spirit. And again, everyone works in different ways. That's not me being disrespectful to anybody else. I have done paranormal investigations in the past. I have done platform mediumship shows and I have offered one-to-one mediumship readings. So I do work with spirit in many different ways. I think it just always filters under, would this be respectful of the spirit and recognise when they have done enough, you respect.
Yeah, absolutely. With working with spirit and being in tune and very sensitive to the spirit world, do you have to do a lot of protection magic within your home and for your family?
Yeah, and I think this comes back to what we were speaking about earlier about recognizing how we are a part of this earth in terms of our energy, how the earth around us is showing up and how that impacts on us. So we need to, in my opinion, we should be looking after ourselves the best that we can anyway. So this goes back to where we have the physical body, we have the mental, emotional, spiritual self. And when we're impacted on one of those levels, the other ones can be wobbled and knocked. So if I'm not getting enough rest, for example, then my energy levels are low, which makes me feel more sensitive to anything that's going on around me, whether that's on a physical plane or on a spiritual plane. And obviously, this again, for me, I've trained to activate and deactivate in spirit mode because I think it's important, just like how we respect spirit's boundaries, we also have our own boundaries as to when is acceptable and appropriate to connect with spirit and when is not. Because if I'm walking down, I don't know, if I'm walking into Boots to go or pick up a shampoo, and all of a sudden I've got somebody's guide poking and prodding at my arm saying, give someone a message, give someone a message. You could have that all day long. Or you step into, this is the mode, this is the time where I'm sitting in the power and the energy of this space. I'm open to, receiving and passing on messages where I'm in good energy. Because when you're in good energy, you can work better with anything in life. So I suppose I went off on a tangent.
No, I love it.
I think on a daily level, it's good to look after yourself again on a physical plane. Are you eating the right way? Are you drinking enough fluids? Are you getting enough sleep and so on? On an energy cleansing way, obviously, being somebody that provides divination readings and so on, it's always good to cleanse that space beforehand. I do have personal rituals for general sort of day-to-day practice, which can change depending on what time of year it is and obviously how I'm feeling with it myself. But I do think that um, prevention and protection can be similar. Having awareness. If you go into a car, if you go and get in a car, you know that you put a safety belt on, not because you're going to have an accident, but because you know that there is risk, the same as you have a smoke alarm in your house. It's the same with working with energies. Energies can become low, energies can attach. So I think it's just important to keep yourself to a higher frequency wherever you can, and acknowledging that when your energy levels are low, is that then appropriate to be doing that sort of work right now, or should I be working on myself instead?
Yeah. And that just makes so much sense as well, on every level.
Thank you.
Do you have any favorite books or teachings that you find you'll sort of go back to every time that you need to look something up, or that you just enjoy reading and learning from?
Hmm. I am a very big bookworm. Um, I love books. I'm quite an old soul. Like, I still would rather purchase a hardback book than read something on the internet. And I have a lot of books in my house, so it's quite difficult to think about specific books. Um, I think I like many different books because obviously you're looking at books in different ways. So Women Who Run with Wolves, Nikita Gill, is a very empowering book. I've felt it's not necessarily on the craft level, but it's just very empowering as a read. Um, Witch by, I want to say, Lisa Lester, but I could be wrong on that name. It's a black book, silver writing, it's the word witch. I find that a very good read as well, actually. Um, at the moment, I'm reading, as I mentioned earlier, The Coven of Gaia, So You Think You're a Witch. I'm really enjoying that because it's been created by different coven members that have their own roles in the coven. So they're bringing in different energies as you work through the book, which feels very positive to me because you're obviously reading from many different practitioners rather than just one. So just a few there to mention. But I do like, yeah, the other one actually, I know what I can mention. John Dee's, um, no, I can't mention it because I can't remember what it was. It's a big red box of 3 volumes based on John Dee's grimoires, and that's absolutely fascinating to look at.
Wow. And what I'll do is uh if you can send me the books over, then I can link them all in the show notes for the listeners who are interested and think, oh, I'd like to get that, or I'd like to do a bit of research in that. I'll link them all as well.
Yeah, brilliant. That would be great. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. Um, so you offer a lot of, of your magical services and your mediumship services. Do you do any spell work for yourself at all?
I do. So again, when it comes to the whole witchcraft area, You've got obviously a lot of people publicly sharing spells online. I've found on TikTok. And again, there's no wrong or right. Everybody practices their craft in different ways, and everybody shows that in different ways. For me, when it comes to ritual and spell work, I'm actually very private. So I do, but I would say that I'm a solo practitioner. I work on my own in ways that feel right at the time if necessary.
It is very private and very personal, and it can take a lot of effort, mental effort, physical effort, a lot of preparation sometimes as well. I love that answer that you gave me, and it's not something that we have to share at all.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what I will say on that is that I think we could read a million books with a million different correspondences and spells, but the real ingredient is your intention and yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. What does being a witch mean for you? If someone goes, "Oh, that's Tatiana, she's quite witchy," or "Oh, she's a witch," how does it make you feel?
Oh, that's a very good question. That is a very good question. So briefly, what I would say is that I'm in tune with nature. I understand that there is more than what meets the eye and that what we are told, and to follow my intuition and what feels right for me. Um, oh, it's very difficult to answer this one. I'm sure probably. Yeah, I think again, it depends on everybody has a different craft practice. I know that I've seen before something that I really liked was I saw a post on social media quite some time ago that said witch with dots in between each letter, and it said underneath, woman in total control here. So that's not my quote. I don't know who to credit for that because obviously, I saw it somewhere, and I remember thinking, "Oh, I like that." But actually, it's not just women, is it? We can say it's just women, but it's definitely not. It's witchcraft is for anybody, in my opinion, and it's about taking control of your life and supporting yourself and others in a way that feels heartfelt and right, in line with frequency, energy, spirit, and nature.
I totally agree with you. And that is such a lovely answer as well. And there's no right or wrong answer to this question. It's very, very individual. And I love the answer you just gave. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tatiana, I am aware that you are linked in with the Museum of Magic and Folklore in Falmouth, and you do some work with them as well. And I would love to hear what it is that you do and how you collaborate with them.
Absolutely. I love the Museum of Folklore and Magic. It's Gwithy and Pitt Street, which is on the High Street in Falmouth. And it's a wonderful curated museum that Steve Patterson has brought together through all of his knowledge and wisdom. He's a fantastic person, and I absolutely love working there. So what I do is I'm very grateful to be one of a few readers that offer tarot readings in the museum on some Saturdays. So I'm not there every Saturday. I'm there some Saturdays, Paul's there some Saturdays as well. And as readers, we all offer different types of readings. And again, as we mentioned earlier on, we're all different types of readers too. So like with Paul and myself, we have a different energy that we bring. We use different divination tools as well. And that's how it's lovely at the museum, because it's a great versatile reading environment. And the readings take place in the library at the museum. Again, there's somebody there every Saturday, whether that's me, Paul, Liz, or somebody else. And I also offer talks there as well. So some of the talks that I have previously done, the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. I was there recently doing a talk on John Dee, and what I absolutely loved about that, I try and create some sort of activities around the talks that I do so that it can make everybody a little less twitchy. You know what it's like sometimes when people are talking for a long time, not everybody can remain focused. Some people can, some people love to just listen, but then others like to keep themselves busy, especially those with creative minds, I've found. So I gave everybody a tea-stained piece of paper, which I said was a missing piece of paper from John Dee's grimoire, and it was up to them what was on that piece of paper. And just handed out, some acrylic paint pens, pencils, and so on, right at the beginning of the talk. And it was lovely that everybody created something different. And then right at the end, we just laid out all of these missing sheets from John Dee's grimoire. And what I loved about that was that Steve then said to me, we shall bind these and put it as one of our exhibitions in the museum. So that was fantastic, because the museum, again, is very much curated with lots of traditional folklore, obviously Cornish folklore as well. And you can find so much in that museum, even though it's quite small. There's always something that captures your eye. So if you haven't yet been, please do come and take a look at the museum.
That sounds amazing. And I have to put my hands up and say I haven't been, even though I have known about it. But now that you've gone and said that, I will definitely be going. And the talks that you do and the readings as well sound wonderful. And I love how collaborative you've got and made that, and that they actually put it up in the museum as well, which is brilliant. Does the museum have a website that I can link in the show notes, or like a Facebook page? So if people do want to go and particularly want to go for a reading on a Saturday, they're able to access that and see what's going on.
Yeah, so Instagram and Facebook, they are both under Gwithy and Pitchtrees, the Cabinet of Folklore and Magic. And there's lots of other things that go on there as well. They do have different exhibitions, different talks, storytelling evenings, all sorts. So I'll send you across a link and absolutely go and check it out.
That sounds absolutely wonderful, Tatiana. I will make sure that I put it in the show notes for everyone to access. What are your future plans or events over the next few months or the next year?
Wow. Okay. So at the moment, what is actually being advertised in terms of events, as I mentioned earlier, we do a monthly coffee and cards club online, which is a really lovely offering, because it's not reading for anybody. It's just for card enthusiasts and card curious people that have a deck of cards, whatever that is, whether it's art, playing cards, tarot, oracle cards, where we just sit with a nice cup of tea or coffee online for an hour. Donation costs £5, and just have a little look at different cards and different spreads together. There is a winter solstice gathering in Northamptonshire in December. There is a puppet making workshop at Atlantis Bookshop in London.
Incredible. Tatiana, Witch of the Old Ways, friend from my hometown, Northampton. Thank you so much. I could continue talking to you forever, and I definitely would love to have you back on for another episode on the podcast. It has been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much, Freyja. I really enjoyed talking with you, and any listeners, thank you so much for listening to me. I really appreciate the connection, and I hope to connect with you at some point in the future too.
You're very welcome. Thank you. I hope you all enjoyed listening to this episode with Tatiana. It was such a joy to interview her. She's so knowledgeable. I love that she's from Northampton, just like me, or Northamptonshire, and I really look forward to having her back on the show. Keep an ear out for my upcoming episode with her husband, Paul, and I've linked all of Tatiana's book recommendations, including her upcoming events, in the show notes.
So it's now time for the weekly witchy events, where I let you know what spiritual and witchy events are happening in and around South Devon and Cornwall. And I also have something new to bring you. A lovely witch called Gemma reached out to me asking if I advertised any local covens or sister circles, and I thought, what a wonderful idea, especially if there are solitary witches out there who are looking for a sisterhood or a coven or connection. So, if there are any covens or sister circles in South Devon and Cornwall that are welcoming new members, please get in touch with me via my Instagram or email with your details, and I will give you a shout out on the podcast. Gemma's coven is called Ros and Booker. It's one of Cornwall's longest established covens. They have been guiding seekers upon the paths of traditional initiatory witchcraft and Cornish magical practices for 25 years and hold meetings in North Cornwall and the Devon/Cornwall border. Applicants are welcome to introduce themselves via email, and I have linked the email and their website in the show notes. So, looking at the week ahead for Cornwall and South Devon witchy events, we have the Cunning Grove. The Cunning Grove is a witchcraft, occult shop and a temple in Plymouth, and every Saturday morning they hold something called a witch, bitch and brew from 11 a.m. until the last witch leaves, and I've linked their Facebook page in the show notes. This Saturday, the 8th of November, Wild Tribe Events are holding a pagan and spiritual fair, 11 a.m. until 4 p.m. at Budleigh Salterton Hall. Willow Tree Psychic Fairs are holding a mind, body and spirit fair on Saturday, the 8th of November. This is 10 a.m. until 4 p.m. and it's at Liskeard Public Hall. And the Cabinet of Folklore and Magic in Falmouth are holding tarot readings on Saturday morning. For the week ahead, Llanstephen Arts are holding a tarot cafe on Wednesday, 12th November, 6 p.m. until 8 p.m. It is a twice monthly circle for the curious, the brave, and for those who love a good card spread. Not all magic happens in solitude. Some of it unfolds in good company around a table with cards laid between us and stories waiting to be told. Tarot Cafe is a space to come as you are, whether you're well versed in the arcana or just beginning to follow your intuition. There is something there for you. You will read, you'll reflect and listen, and somehow through all of it, you might notice that something shifts. So you're warmly invited to pull up a chair, sip something comforting, and explore what the cards might be holding for you. And I have linked their website and details on how to book in the show notes. Tatiana's event is a playing card divination workshop. Playing cards, astrology, and the divisions of the year are strongly connected. Did you know that there are 52 cards in a deck of traditional playing cards, just as there are 52 weeks in a year? And much like there is 12 court cards within a deck, there is also 12 months in a year, and there are also 12 signs of the zodiac. There are many more significant connections between the playing cards and the mystic energies of our world and ourselves. So join Tatiana for a unique and creative workshop with the traditional playing card decks in a way like never before. You will understand how the numbers, suits, and characters of the cards play a role in our daily lives and learn how to read the cards for divination purposes. This workshop will take place on Sunday, the 16th of November at Penzance Spiritualist Church from 1 p.m. till 4 p.m. at a cost of £15. There are a limited number of spaces available, and I have put the mobile number that you will need to contact to book your space in the show notes. Sacred Kerno Circle, which is Megan Field's business, who you might remember from Witch Festival. She is holding a Sacred Kerno Circle on the 20th of November in Liskeard, Cornwall. The theme for this circle is sharing food traditions from your lineage. The invitation is for everyone to bring a dish or recipe from your lineage, childhood, culture, or background to share with the group, and you'll explore what food means to you and community. Sacred Kerno Circles fosters a deep sense of belonging in everyone who attends. a space where you never have to try to fit in, where you belong to yourself first, where you can speak your truth and tell your story, where you can embrace vulnerability as connection and never feel any pressure of expectation, only the invitation to come as you are and leave as more of who you are. The circles are for all who feel the call to deepen your relationship of belonging to yourself, to the land you live on, your lineage, and this beautiful community. You can book via Megan's website. It's a £10 donation, and I have linked Megan's website in the show notes. That's all I have for you for the weekly Witchy events. If you do have a witchy or spiritual event coming up in Cornwall or South Devon, and if you would like me to give you a shout out on the podcast, please get in touch with me. I have linked my contact details in the show notes. You can email me. I'm at the Cornish Witch podcast at gmail.com. I've also got a link to my Facebook page and my Instagram profile as well. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Cornish Witch podcast. I will be back next week with another episode. And until then, merry meet, merry part, and merry meet again.